When the alien fleet arrived above Earth, no one expected it to be a declaration of peace. The skies turned silver, and the world held its breath as thousands of triangular ships floated in silence. But instead of weapons, the ships broadcast one message: the Queen demands a meeting with your strongest diplomat. They didn't ask for Earth's president or generals. They didn't want scientists or historians. They asked for someone who could speak for all of humanity, not with words, but with courage. That's when they chose him. Ryder Dane, ex-Marine, war survivor. Now a calm man who spoke softly but never backed down. No one understood why the Queen chose him. He wasn't trained in diplomacy. He didn't wear a suit. But when he entered the ship, wearing only his old black combat shirt and a chain around his neck, the guards didn't stop him. The alien soldiers stared at him like he didn't belong, yet didn't dare move against him. The ship's corridors pulsed like veins. The walls were alive, made of some strange flesh-metal blend. Ryder didn't flinch. The guards looked more insect than humanoid, yet he kept walking, hands open, not afraid. Even when they hissed near his ear, he didn't blink. At last he was brought before her. The alien queen. Her skin shimmered green and gold like venom. Her hair flowed like oil. Her eyes burned with ancient wisdom, but her smile was not kind. She sat on a throne of bones, drinking from a crystal cup filled with thick white liquid. The Queen looked at Ryder with disgust, amusement, and curiosity all at once. "Do you fear death, human?" she asked. Her voice echoed across the chamber. Like a song and a hiss, Ryder didn't answer. He just stepped forward and stared at the cup in her hand. "This is my blood," she said. "This is my poison. No creature in the galaxy survives it. Drink it, and you prove your kind is worthy. Refuse, and your planet burns." The guards laughed behind their masks. To them, this was a show. A slow execution. Ryder took the cup without a word. It was cold in his hand. The liquid smelled like metal and honey. The Queen leaned forward, her tongue sliding between her sharp teeth, waiting to see the human scream or melt. But Ryder drank it in one gulp, wiped his mouth, and looked her in the eye. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Queen stood up in shock. Her guards stepped back. The poison that melted the lungs of 10 species had done nothing. Ryder smiled, just a small twitch of his lip, and held the empty cup back to her. "Another," he said. The chamber fell into silence. Even the living walls stopped moving. One of the guards stumbled. The Queen narrowed her eyes, stepping down from her throne slowly. "You are not like the others," she whispered. Ryder didn't move. His heart beat calmly. His veins burned, but he showed no pain. The Queen circled him now, like a predator. She studied his skin, his breath, his pulse. "No species has survived my gift. Not even the cursed Turks. What are you?" Ryder finally answered with a single sentence. "I'm human. And I'm hungry." Something inside her shifted. For the first time, the Queen looked unsure. Her smile faded. Her hand touched his chest lightly. "You're either the bravest creature I've met, or the most foolish," she said. Ryder shrugged. "Maybe both." That night, the Queen didn't kill him. She offered him food instead. Not human food, but her people's sacred dishes. Every item on the plate was dangerous. Ryder ate each one, never breaking eye contact. She watched him like a storm watches the sea. The guards no longer laughed. They watched in silence. The Queen gave him a second cup of the poison milk. This time, she drank with him. And when she smiled again, it was different. Not cruel, not amused. It was curious. Like something ancient had awakened inside her. The night after the feast, Ryder was not taken back to his shuttle. Instead, he was given a chamber deep inside the living ship. The walls moved slowly like they were breathing. The bed was made of soft organic fibers that warmed to his skin. But Ryder didn't sleep. He sat on the edge of the bed watching the Strange lights move across the ceiling. He had survived her poison, eaten her sacred food, and lived. But now he wondered why she kept him alive. No alien had done that before. They either studied humans or feared them. She did neither. A sound like silk tearing filled the room. The wall to his left parted like a curtain, and she walked in. No guards followed, no weapons in her hands. She wore a long black cloak with gold threads that shimmered with every step. Her eyes glowed in the dim light. "You should be dead," she said softly. Ryder looked at her and said nothing. She circled him again, the way she had before. But this time, she wasn't searching for weakness. She was looking for something else. Curiosity, maybe something more. "Do humans have venom?" she asked. Ryder shook his head. "Only when we speak," he said. She paused, then laughed. It was the first time she laughed without cruelty. It was strange. He wasn't sure if it was good or bad, but it made her seem less distant. She sat beside him without asking. The ship pulsed slower now, like it was listening. Ryder didn't move away. She was close enough for him to smell her skin. It wasn't perfume. It was something natural, wild, like forest and metal mixed together. "You don't fear me," she said. "Why?" Ryder looked at her. "Because I'm not here to kneel. I'm here to understand why you want war." Her smile faded. For a moment, she seemed older, tired, like something ancient behind her eyes was hurting. "My poison is sacred," she whispered. "It is the blood of our ancestors. It connects us. It kills all who are not of us. But you drank it, and asked for more." Ryder nodded slowly. "Maybe it means humans are closer to your kind than you think." She stared at him in silence. Then she touched the glass that sat on the table. Another cup of white liquid. She offered it to him. Ryder looked at it, then at her. "You're testing me again." She shook her head. "No, I'm sharing something sacred." He drank without hesitation. The Queen watched every drop disappear. She placed her hand on his chest, feeling his heart beat steady. "You're not like the others," she said again. "Maybe I am. Maybe we're just not as different as your people were told." The Queen stood up, looking taller now. "There will be trials," she said. "There are those in my court who demand your execution. They see you as a threat. A crack in our law." Ryder stood too, his voice calm. "Then let them see me survive every law you have." She didn't smile this time. Her face was serious. "You don't understand what you've started. Our poison connects all my people. If you can survive it, then it means something sacred may be broken." Ryder looked her in the eyes. "Or something sacred is being reborn." The next morning, Ryder was taken to the court chamber. It was larger than the throne room. Alien nobles filled the walls, each sitting on strange platforms that floated in the air. They wore masks of bone and metal. Their eyes burned with judgment. The Queen sat in the center, her throne glowing like fire. Ryder stood alone in the circle beneath them. A voice echoed from above. "The human must drink before us. If he lives." Again, "The pact must be rewritten," Ryder nodded. "Then pour the glass." They brought out a different cup. This one was darker. The Queen looked at him and gave a small nod. He drank it slowly this time, letting the heat run down his throat. The room held its breath. Ryder placed the cup down gently, then looked at them all. "I'm still here," he said. The court chamber didn't make a sound after Ryder's words. He stood tall, his chest rising calmly as the liquid burned inside him. Dozens of alien nobles stared at him like they were watching a myth become real. Even the living walls of the chamber had gone still. One of the nobles spoke in a low voice. "This is heresy. No outsider may survive the binding blood." The Queen raised her hand, silencing him. She stepped down from her throne, each step echoing as if the ship itself was listening. Her eyes were fixed on Ryder. "This chamber has witnessed miracles," she said slowly. but never one that walks, breathes, and dares speak back to our blood. Her voice carried power, but something else too, a tremble. Not of fear, but of change. Ryder met her gaze without blinking. Another noble rose. His mask looked like a serpent's skull, and his voice hissed through the chamber. He must be dissected, studied. His flesh may explain this blasphemy. Ryder looked at him with calm eyes and replied without hesitation. Try that, and you'll learn what human venom really is. That response stirred a low murmur. Even the guards looked uncertain now. The queen turned to the noble and said, "If you harm him, you declare war not only on earth, but on the blood of our ancestors. Are you prepared to carry that curse?" The noble sat down slowly. Ryder didn't expect protection from her, but he wasn't surprised either. She was a queen, but also a predator. And she knew better than to let fear destroy what could become a new weapon or a new ally. She moved closer to him, her voice lower now. "You are no longer just a guest," she said. "You are part of the trial of legacy. What happens next will decide if humans stand beside us or against us for generations." Ryder nodded once. "Then let's begin the trial." I didn't come all this way to bow and leave. He was escorted to a chamber deeper than before. The walls here were black and smooth like glass, but pulsing gently with blue veins. In the center of the room was a pedestal with another glass of white liquid. This one shimmered with threads of violet. "This," said the priest beside him, "is the queen's own venom, shared only once every reign. It has never been offered to an outsider. If it rejects you, your body will tear itself apart." Ryder picked up the glass. "If it accepts me," the priest answered softly. "Then you become something new." Ryder drank it in one motion. The liquid was cold at first, then burned hotter than fire in his chest. He dropped to one knee, his heart pounding against his ribs like a war drum. But he gritted his teeth and held on as the venom stormed through his veins. His vision blurred. The chamber spun, but his mind stayed focused. He remembered his training. Pain was just a signal, not a command. He slowed his breathing. His hands clenched until blood rose to the surface. But he never screamed. He never begged. When it was over, he stood again. Taller than before, not in size but in presence. Something inside him had changed. The guards who had watched him now looked away. The priest bowed his head in silence. Ryder looked at his own hands and felt the weight of what he'd done. The queen returned later. She didn't ask if he had survived. She saw the change in his eyes. "You carry my venom now," she said. "You are bound to me by blood, whether you wanted it or not." Ryder nodded. "Then I hope your enemies are ready to bleed." That night, she invited him to stand beside her in the throne room. Not as a prisoner, not as a guest, but as something new. A symbol of unity or rebellion. No one could tell yet. But when the queen raised his hand to the nobles, none dared speak against her. Outside the ship, Earth's leaders received a message. A visual of the queen and the humans standing together, their hands marked by glowing sigils. It was not a message of surrender or war. It was something in between. A warning and a promise. The trial of legacy had begun. Asterisk word of Ryder's survival spread across the galaxy, faster than fire through dry grass. On planets ruled by the old blood, his name was now whispered like a storm. Some called him a prophecy. Others called him a mistake. But everyone agreed on one thing. He was dangerous. Inside the Queen's ship, everything felt different. The guards no longer looked at Ryder like prey. The servants bowed slightly when passing him. The walls pulsed slower, like the ship itself had accepted him. Even the air seemed to hum when he walked through the halls. But power always invites resistance. Far from the Queen's ship, in a hidden fortress orbiting a dying moon, 3 nobles met in shadow. They wore masks that glowed faintly in the dark. Each mask bore a different symbol: venom, shadow, and flame. "The Queen is blinded," said the noble of venom. She has let the poison choose a beast with no bloodline. The one of flame added, if the human survives the last trial. The old pact is shattered. Our power dies with it. The shadow noble said nothing for a long time. Then he spoke one word. Assassinate. Back on the ship, Ryder was summoned again. This time, not by the queen, but by her high priest. The chamber he entered was filled with giant roots, glowing with blue light. The priest stood beside a pool of silver liquid, his staff raised high. You carry the queen's venom, the priest said. But to truly be one of us, you must carry our pain. Ryder stepped closer. What kind of pain? The priest answered without blinking. The memory of our extinction. The scream of our ancestors trapped in silence. Ryder stepped into the pool. It was warm like blood, thick and heavy. Visions hit him instantly. Cities crumbling. Skies burning. Children turned to ash in their mother's arms. He gasped, falling to his knees, but he did not crawl out. He stayed and took it all. When he emerged, he was pale and shaking, but his eyes were sharper than before. I've seen what you lost, he said. I felt it. The priest nodded. Then you understand why we kill outsiders. Why we never forgive. And now you must choose, become part of it or stand alone. I choose both, Ryder said. I carry your pain, but I still speak for Earth. That answer made the priest smile for the first time. Then may your voice echo beyond death. A mark burned into Ryder's skin. A symbol of two worlds twisted together. That same night, a figure crept through the queen's ship. Cloaked in heat-dampening armor, the assassin moved without sound. The alien's fingers dripped with poison sharper than any blade. Her orders were clear. Kill the human before dawn. She found him meditating in the silent chamber. His back was turned. His eyes were closed. Easy prey. She struck fast and sharp, but her hand stopped mid-air. Fingers caught in a grip of iron. Ryder stood, holding her. Wrist like a vice, his voice calm. I knew they'd send someone, he said. The assassin struggled, but he didn't let go. Do you know what's in my blood now? He asked. The same venom that once ruled empires. And it's hungry. For traitors. Her eyes widened as venom marks on his hand began to glow. She dropped to the ground when he released her. Ryder didn't kill her. He let her crawl away. He wanted the traitors to know he could have ended her. But he didn't. Mercy was also a message. One that cut deeper than death. When the queen found out, she didn't scream. She walked to him silently, her robe trailing across the stone floor. She placed her hand on his chest and looked him in the eyes. You are more than I expected. She whispered. Ryder replied with the same calm fire. So are you. Outside the chamber, the nobles watched through hidden eyes. Their plan had failed. The queen's bond with the human had grown stronger. Now they had to do more than kill. Him. They had to break what made him unbreakable. The next trial would not be poison or pain. It would be betrayal. The queen summoned Ryder to her private chamber before sunrise. The ship was silent, its heartbeat slow. She stood alone, wearing a robe that shimmered like living shadow. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried weight. She did not smile when he entered. There's one trial left, she said. But I cannot give it to you. Only your heart can. Ryder didn't flinch. He stepped forward, his hands by his side. Then tell me what must be done. The queen looked away for the first time since they met. You must choose, she whispered. Between me and Earth. Ryder's chest tightened. He hadn't expected this. Not from her. Not now. Why? He asked. Because your loyalty will decide the fate of both worlds, she replied. She walked toward him and placed a small dagger in his hand. Its blade glowed with her venom. This is my final test. The court will offer you a target. You must strike to prove where you stand. If you don't, the alliance dies. If you do, you may lose everything. The court gathered in the ancient. Arena. The nobles wore ceremonial armor and their masks shined under the twin moons. Ryder stood in the center, the venom blade resting on his palm. His heart beat steady, but his mind was storming inside. Then the prisoner was brought forth, chained, bleeding, human, a diplomat from Earth. Ryder had known during early peace talks. The nobles smiled behind their masks. One of them spoke coldly. "Your trial is simple. Kill the human and prove your loyalty to the Queen." Ryder didn't move. His jaw clenched. The diplomat looked at him with shock and fear. "Ryder, don't do this," he said. Ryder said nothing. The Queen sat in silence, her face unreadable. He knew this was not her choice. It was the court's trap. The dagger burned in his hand. The poison called for blood. But Ryder wasn't a killer of the innocent. He took a slow breath and turned to the Queen. "If I kill him, Earth will never trust you again. You want alliance, not obedience," a noble shouted. "You defy the final trial?" Ryder raised the blade and pointed it at his own throat. "No, I complete it. If you want blood to prove my loyalty, take mine. But I won't murder an innocent for your game." Silence fell like a hammer. Even the wind in the arena stopped. The Queen stood. Slowly, her eyes locked onto Ryder's. She stepped down from her throne, each footstep louder than thunder in the silence. She reached him and took the dagger from his hand. "You have passed," she said. The chains fell from the diplomat. The nobles began to protest, but the Queen raised her voice. "This court forgets the meaning of strength. They believe killing proves loyalty. But true loyalty is measured in sacrifice, not slaughter." She turned to the nobles. "The human chose pain over betrayal. He offered his life instead of blood. That is strength our people have forgotten." One by one, the nobles lowered their heads. The arena was no longer theirs. It belonged to her again. That night, Ryder stood on the balcony of the Queen's chamber. Below him, the ship drifted over glowing forests of her homeworld. Stars shimmered in the sky, brighter than any he had seen. He felt her presence before she spoke. "You shamed them," she said, "and reminded me of what I once was." Ryder nodded. "You never lost it. You just stopped listening to it." She moved beside him, their arms brushing lightly. "Would you have done it? Killed yourself?" He looked at her and smiled slightly. "I meant every word," he said. She looked away, her voice softer now. "The trials are over, but what comes next will be harder." Ryder turned to face her fully. "Let it come. I'll face it with the same answer I gave them. I won't kneel, not to Earth, not to you. But I will stand beside you." The Queen placed her hand over his heart. The venom marks under his skin glowed faintly. "Then I accept that bond," she whispered. "You are not mine. But you are not theirs either. You are something new, and somewhere deep within the ship, the ancient systems recorded the moment the trial of betrayal ended with no blood spilled. Peace on the Queen's ship lasted only 3 days. During that time, her court remained quiet. The nobles bowed when they passed. The venomous eyes once filled with doubt now reflected something new. Caution, maybe fear. But not hatred. Ryder trained each morning in the temple courtyard. Alien warriors watched him from the shadows. None dared challenge him. He moved like a man carrying more than a blade. He carried purpose, he carried venom. And now he carried the Queen's trust. But peace is always temporary when truth is hidden. Deep within the Queen's archives, an old intelligence signal was found. It wasn't sent by Earth. It wasn't sent by her enemies in the noble ranks. It was older than both, and much more dangerous. The Queen summoned Ryder in silence. She stood before a holographic projection of a system long forgotten. The stars in the projection were red, the planet marked in black. "This," she said, "is where my mother died. And I was never told how." She turned to face him, eyes cold. "Now I know. This was not a war. It was a betrayal. Someone within our own bloodline triggered her death. And now the same force is moving again. Ryder stepped closer. What is it? The Queen whispered one word. Azareth. The name made the chamber dim for a moment. The ship's lights flickered as if it remembered the name too. Ryder looked at her carefully. You think Azareth is still alive? The Queen nodded. Not alive, but not dead either. It waits in the void, feeding off what we forget. She opened her hand and revealed a fragment of black crystal. This was hidden in the chamber beneath the throne. It is the blood code of Azareth. It should not exist. Only one house would ever hide this. House Vexer. Ryder remembered the Mask of Shadow. They tried to have me killed, Ryder said. Then they sent the assassin. They failed twice. The Queen's eyes narrowed. They will not fail a third time. Because this time, they do not want your death. They want mine. Ryder placed his hand over hers, covering the crystal. Then we fight back. Together, she nodded. Not here. Vexer controls the council on the moon of Lithin. If we go without protection. If we die, the Alliance dies with us. That night, the Queen and Ryder left the ship in a stealth vessel. No court announcement, no ceremonial farewell. Only a quiet launch into the dark between stars. Inside the cockpit, Ryder checked the coordinates while the Queen remained silent beside him. They landed on Lithin under false clearance. The city was carved into a frozen mountain, with towers made of glass and iron. The banners of House Vexer flew high. Each bore the mark of the Shadow Serpent. The Queen wore a hood. Ryder wore armor beneath his cloak. Inside the council hall, the nobles of Vexer greeted them with forced smiles. We did not expect the Queen to walk into our halls alone, one said. I'm not alone, she replied. Ryder stepped beside her, his hand resting near his sidearm. The air turned sharp. We come with questions, the Queen said, and we expect answers. About Azareth, about my mother, about the bloodline betrayal. The Vexer noble laughed softly. Careful. Majesty, accusation without proof is suicide. Ryder's voice cut through the room. Then let's see who dies first. 100 hidden weapons activated. Guards appeared from cloaked walls. The trap was not denied. It was embraced. The Queen didn't blink. So it's true, she said. You betrayed my mother, and now you dare betray me. The Vexer noble stepped forward slowly. Your reign is false, he said. You let a human touch the blood of gods. You let him survive the poison. You let him speak in our halls. That is the real betrayal, Ryder smiled grimly. Then I guess it's time to betray you back. The room exploded into chaos. Ryder drew his sidearm. The Queen called forth her venom blade. The two fought as one, cutting through the traitors like a storm of fire and shadow. The hall filled with screams. But neither of them stopped. By the time the fighting ended, the banners of Vexer were torn. The noble of shadows lay broken before the Queen. Ryder stepped beside her, blood on his chest, and said only one word: victory. News of the slaughter at Lithin spread faster than expected. The banners of House Vexer were burned across 5 systems by loyalists, but rebellion does not die in one battle. It only bleeds and retreats deeper into the shadows. The Queen returned to her throne world with Ryder at her side. The court was silent when they entered. Every noble lowered their head, not from fear of death, but from the realization that the Queen had changed. She had stopped asking for loyalty. Now she demanded it. Ryder's presence beside her was no longer questioned. He had proven himself through poison, through fire, and through choice. He was no longer seen as an outsider. He was becoming something far worse to the traitors. He was becoming a symbol. Inside the Queen's private war chamber, the map of the stars was reshaped. Red zones blinked across sectors where rebellion still festered. House Vexer was broken. but its blood had already poisoned others. Entire fleets were in motion, hidden under old alliances. Ryder stood beside her, studying the glowing paths. "You've got a civil war growing under your own crown," he said. "And it's going to get louder." The Queen nodded. "The poison I used to rule with is no longer enough. They've tasted freedom. Now they want fire." She turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "There is a council planet known as Varys Prime. 10 houses are gathering. They plan to vote on removing me as queen. If they succeed, all this ends in blood." Ryder stepped forward. "Then we don't let them succeed." The journey to Varys Prime took 2 days. The Queen's ship traveled cloaked through nebulous storms and radiation belts. They couldn't risk showing their flag until the last second. When they arrived, the council tower already burned with noble arrogance. Inside, the 10 houses sat in their floating chambers, wrapped in gold and obsidian. They welcomed the Queen with cold words and forced smiles. Ryder could feel the tension in the room, like wires ready to snap. The Queen walked calmly to the center platform. "I see you gather to speak of peace," she said. "But carry the weapons of betrayal," one noble spoke quickly. "Majesty, we only seek to protect the throne." Ryder answered him before she could. "You mean protect it from the human who drinks your venom?" Gasps followed. Some nobles looked away. Others narrowed their eyes. The Queen raised her hand and silence returned. "I have not come to ask for mercy," she said. "I've come to give one chance. Stand with me now, or be counted among the traitors." The chamber erupted in shouts. Half the council rose in anger, the others stayed seated. The Queen stared at them all, unmoved. Ryder stepped forward, the venom mark on his hand glowing. "You made your choice when you betrayed her bloodline. Don't pretend this is politics. This is survival." Suddenly, one of the nobles pulled a hidden device from their robe. It pulsed with dark energy. "Then survive this," he shouted. A pulse wave erupted through the chamber, knocking half the guards to the ground. The Queen stumbled back, clutching her chest. Ryder caught her before she fell. Her breathing was sharp, her skin flickered. "The device, it attacks my venom bond," she gasped. Ryder turned, his eyes blazing. He drew his weapon and fired straight into the noble's chest, sending him across the platform. The Queen's hand trembled. Ryder grabbed the device and crushed it against the floor. The energy stopped, but the damage was done. She was weak. Too weak to stand. Ryder lifted her into his arms and turned to face the nobles. "Anyone else want to test Earth's patience?" he said. None moved. Ryder carried her out of the chamber while guards surrounded them. The nobles didn't follow. They had expected to assassinate a queen. They didn't expect to fail again. And they didn't expect the human to walk away carrying a legend in his arms. In the healing chamber, the Queen lay wrapped in silk tendrils of energy. Her heart rate was steady but fragile. Ryder stood beside her bed, unmoving. His hand rested on his weapon. If anyone else came for her, they would not leave breathing. One of her priests entered quietly. "She lives because of you," he said. Ryder didn't answer. His eyes were locked on her face. She stirred, her lips parting just slightly. "You stayed," she whispered. Ryder nodded once. Always *. The Queen awoke to the low hum of her ship's life support chamber. She felt the venom flowing slowly through her veins, weak but stable. She looked around and found Ryder sitting in the corner, his eyes never leaving her. He had not slept. "You could have left," she whispered. "They would have made you a hero back on Earth." Ryder leaned forward. "I didn't come here for medals. I came because you didn't kill me when you could have. And because you let me see what's worth saving." She sat up slowly, wincing as pain gripped her side. Her body had not fully recovered, but her spirit had. "The council is fractured," she said. "Half of them flee. The rest wait for my funeral to announce a new ruler." Ryder stood and handed her the venom blade. Then maybe we give them a funeral to remember. That same night, the Queen summoned her loyalists. The message was clear. The Venom Throne still held breath. And those who wished to take it would now have to fight for every step. Across the throne world, the banners of her reign rose again. The final confrontation came at the summit of Drozek Crater, where the last rebel houses had gathered. They expected weakness. They expected fear. Instead, the Queen arrived in full ceremonial armor, Ryder beside her in black steel, the venom seal glowing on his chest. The nobles tried diplomacy. They offered fake apologies, hollow words. But the Queen raised her hand and cut the air with her voice. You bled my blood. You burned my past. And now you seek to rule what you never earned. Today, that ends. The rebels charged. The Queen stepped forward. Her blade moved like a serpent unleashed. Ryder fought at her side, his movements guided by instinct and fury. Venom clashed with shadow. Steel clashed with pride. Blood turned the snow black. The Queen struck down the last noble with a clean, final blow. She stood over the body as lightning cracked in the sky above. Ryder limped beside her, bloodied but alive. He looked at her with quiet pride. No more thrones in the dark, he said. Only the one you earned. When they returned to the throne room, no one challenged her. The surviving nobles knelt. The banners were lowered, not in surrender, but in respect. For the first time in decades, the Queen sat upon her throne not as a ruler of fear, but as a ruler of choice. Ryder stood below the platform, his armor scratched, his hands still stained from battle. The Queen looked down at him and raised her voice. This human walked through our trials. He drank our poison. He stood beside me when the stars turned away. From this moment forward, he stands as my equal. The court fell silent. No one moved. No one dared object. The Venom Throne had spoken. And Ryder did not smile or bow. He only nodded once, as if to say he accepted the weight she placed upon him without question. Later that evening, the two stood alone on the high balcony of the palace. The skies were clear, and stars shimmered above the great mountains. Ryder leaned on the edge, watching the horizon. So what now? He asked. The Queen moved beside him slowly. Now we rebuild, she said. A world where venom does not mean fear. A world where strength is not measured by who you kill, but by who you choose to stand with. Ryder looked at her. You really think they'll follow that? The Queen answered without doubt. They followed a human who drank death and lived. I think they'll follow that story anywhere. A warm breeze passed between them. The venom marks on Ryder's hand glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the Queen's. She touched his fingers gently, then rested her hand over his heart. You were the only one who didn't kneel, she whispered. So now I rise beside you. Ryder didn't answer. He only looked into her eyes. And in that silent moment, no banners, no blades, no council voices could touch them. Just two rulers bound by blood, war, and something neither had ever spoken aloud. Trust.